Alright, welcome to the U3 channel. Unidentified, undiscovered, unexplained. All things relating to aliens, UFO conspiracies, and just and things pertaining to that nature.
Flat Earth, Hollow Earth, anything to do with the Earth and beyond.
If those are any points about that, you're going to have to cover them. We are joined by our resident expert friend, Chris. Chris, how you doing today?
Good. How are you, Anthony in Sahil?
Lovely, jubbly.
Good, thank you.
So I understand you used to do networking at a certain location that was maybe had some secrets.
Networking with quotes, because it wasn't really networking.
Mm-hmm. Can we?
No. Next question.
I was gonna say, can we ask where this location was? He's talked about it on my podcast.
Okay.
Location is Creech Air Force Base, Nevada. That is also known as Area 52.
50?
That is starting to blow up more and more in recent memes and stuff that are going around, saying that they're going to sneak into Area 52 when everybody's focusing on defending Area 51.
Now, Chris, what's Area 52? Is that like hundreds of miles away from Area 51?
No, not really. It's relatively close.
It's less than hour away by car?
Less than an hour away by car.
When Chris took me there, there was this one road lined with holes, and it had what are they, the guns that come out of the ground?
The sentry guns.
Sentry. I don't know if was it sentry guns, Chris?
It wasn't any sentry guns, just guards and stuff.
Wow. Were you on the same trip as Chris?
I thought that there were
I mean, I showed you caves and stuff around the area.
Wow.
Caves.
Caves.
All right. Yeah.
Well, carry on with your story.
All right, and so yeah, it was a thing where you could drive to Area 51, and did you ever go there, Chris?
No, I did not.
All right.
Well, Chris actually led us into our first topic of discussion, which was this whole Facebook group about, what is it, 600,000 people?
It's over 700,000 right now.
Why is it over? It's gone over 700.
I mean, that was when I saw it days ago.
Yeah, to storm Area 51.
Now, does that include both the people who are interested, or just the people who are actually going?
I think so.
Both.
I think
What?
interested the other day was at 300 and going was about 350. So I think they've kind of done it as one total. Yeah.
I looked at it yesterday. It was over 500,000 people who were actually going to go.
Wow.
And over 500,000 people who were interested in going.
But you realize
So that's 1 million people now.
95% of the people who say that they're going are just people
will actually not go.
Yeah, they're just sitting. It's like there was some sort of event, and everyone said they were going because they were trying to make a point about it.
Right.
But it was a stupid thing because they're like, well, this event, it wasn't the possibility of success was not so much contingent upon how many people said they were going to go. It's more if a lot of people showed up to whatever this event was, it would have actually had an impact.
I mean, regardless, the fact that it's getting so many eyes are being set on this group.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because if you said 5 years ago, even 10 years ago, would you? Because Facebook was still around. If you put that kind of group out, do you think you get such a...
No, because just not that many people are on it. I mean, now it's it's over 1.8 billion people throughout the world are on it, and so it's just it's the biggest social media, it's the biggest website in the world. Yeah. But
So what do you think the fascination is with Area 51?
isn't the whole idea is where they'd have some crafts or beings or weapons? Is the whole theory?
Chris, what's your take on Area 51? Why are people obsessed?
I would say it's a mixture of the unidentified aircraft and aliens potentially possibly being there.
What if
Are we allowed to ask Chris his opinion?
Are we, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, everybody has their own opinion. Like I said, I didn't work at Area 51, so I don't really know for sure. But for me, I believe that aliens do exist out there somewhere in the universe.
Mhm.
But have they traveled here?
Mm-hmm.
Most likely not.
Mm-hmm. That's a pretty fair. I mean, my physics teacher in school used to just say that pretty much. He was like, we'd be very naive to think, just mathematically, we'd be very naive to think we are the only intelligent species in the universe. So I'm with Chris on that one. And yeah, whether they've actually been here, that's up for much debate.
I always like when Neil deGrasse Tyson said it's like either they have not found us or they looked at us and said there's no intelligent life on that planet.
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm of the belief that I think that they have been here, whether it's by accident or on intentional. I think we've had some kind of contact, but for obvious reasons, it's not been fully disclosed to the public just yet, because, well, you can just imagine from a religious standpoint how people would react. And I'm not talking about one specific religion, I'm talking about every would just come into question, because we are molded in God's image. Or so who are these little green guys molded after?
What if my thought with the aliens
which goes on to our second.
All right.
Yeah, right?
All right.
Or third?
What, Area 52?
No, your what you said about the humans.
Oh, yeah. Like, I've always thought it'd be interesting, or one possibility is that aliens are us in the future. Like, it's some sort of protective skin that people put on, or that people put their consciousness into.
That's how we've evolved, like,
or that, yeah, or they,
like
that's
from now. That's how we look.
Well, because that being can like time travel.
What do you? What's your thoughts on that theory, Chris?
Time travel or what? There were a lot of things thrown on right there.
So I guess the first aspect was if beings have visited and they are like little grey men or little green men, Pappy is saying that they are just humans, but from a different time, a different dimension.
Mm-hmm.
But they are us, essentially, just maybe 1,000 years from now, 1,000,000 years from now.
Billion.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. Like, is that how we look?
Would they technically be us, or they are the descendants of us?
Yeah.
Just like we're the descendants of like other apes and stuff.
Well, like early man was ape, and then like we are how we are now. So what if in like?
Yeah, but I'm saying if that is like the next form of like, or a future form of human, would we really consider it us or like a different species?
Well, do monkeys consider themselves humans?
I've never asked one, but it's interesting to think about.
Chris,
do we consider us humans, us monkeys at all?
I think we acknowledge the fact that they have traits of humans.
We do have traits.
Like they're like, this is something that like has traits of a human, but it's not a human.
But as far as us being potentially aliens that are from the future.
Yeah, future or just a different, even a different planet.
Different planet. We're talking about like different. What is it called?
Oh, did you want one?
No, I'm good, thank you. No, okay. So let's say this. Let's say little green or little grey men have been here, and it's discovered that because they apparently they have a similar look to us. They have 2 legs and 2 arms. That's a start. That's a big
much
start,
shorter.
but shorter. But the craniums are meant to be larger, so they're probably smarter. Probably.
Or they just spend all their time operating like a machine.
So Chris, do you think those little green or grey men that may or may not have been here could potentially be just humans, but just way more evolved, like a very advanced form of human? Or do you just think?
Potentially, but I mean that's going along the lines of just looking at evolution and the different things that that we see as birth defects until they essentially become part of the standard.
Right. Yeah.
You're talking about advancing down the line quite a bit. Most of the birth defects and everything usually lead to premature death or something along the lines, or they would be an outcast society, so they would be less likely to be able to reproduce, to be able to continue that trend. So, as of right now, I would say no, that wouldn't be really possible. But
It's interesting to think about, though, isn't it?
What's that?
Like, you know,
If they are us?
they are us, just, you know, from the year 3000, let's say, even. It's just, strange.
What you saying, Chris?
from the year 3000, it would be very. There's also different theories to time travel and how you look at it. Are you jumping into different, like, time, what are they called, parallel universes, or are you actually going back in time? So
but don't you, like, by going back in time and changing the past, doesn't that always thus alter the future? Therefore it alters, like, the present, therefore you're creating a new reality. Like, as soon as you go
the
back,
butterfly effect.
What's that?
The butterfly effect is basically you change one small thing and it essentially,
like, you kill a fly back there, and then it's like,
and then that fly ate some bacteria that was going to eradicate human race, and because you killed that fly, human race is now dead.
You see?
Yeah, and I see it. It was a Tom Cruise film, wasn't it?
Ashton Kutcher.
That's probably why I didn't see it.
Sorry, Ashton, if you're watching, don't pay attention to my friend here. Oh, you funny guy. Well, that was a pretty deep subject matter.
Right. We got some more. Oh wait, Chris. Before we just keep going ahead, I want to go back to the first one. Like, what would be like? So everyone's talking about, like, storming area. I shouldn't be slamming my hand.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't.
I know. Everyone's talking about, like, storming Area 51 and the consequences of that. Everyone's like, oh, we'll get in there, we'll see the aliens, we'll see the ships. Isn't the more likely possibility is that the people who guard Area 51, which you'd have to go to Area 52 to get to at all, would probably just, like, wouldn't they just, like, shoot the people that showed up who tried to cross it? Like, I feel like you go to any military base, if you, like, storm the gates, they're just going to shoot you.
You're trespassing.
So it's like, that's the thing, though, is if 200,000 people show up, like, are they? And I'm sure if it becomes an actual event, like, if people, like, are seriously going, CNN and everyone will cover it, are they just going to shoot down a whole bunch of American people on TV? Like,
so to begin that, go back to you saying that to get to Area 51 you have to go to Area 52. That's not the case. There are a lot. I mean, you're essentially in the middle of the Nevada desert, and you don't have to go through Area 52 to get to Area 51. You can take there's a couple routes, actually. If you look on Google Maps surrounding Area 52, there's a couple ways to get it to it. By the route that connects Area 52 to Area 51 is just very direct. And as far as, say, 200,000 people show up to a military installation to try to raid to see anything, they're essentially trespassing on government property. And like, for Area 51 at least, I know for sure they do have signs up saying that they are authorized to shoot. So that is a possibility, but say they somehow get past all the guards and everything, and they get into Area 51 and they're at some door. There are multi-factor authentication requirements to be able to get into that door, which is usually in the form of a token, like a PIN that you know. It could even be biometrics. I'm not exactly sure what they have up at Area 51, but you need to know, even if they grab the token off of a guard and scan it up against the thing, and they say that token does work, you also need to type in a PIN, and they wouldn't know that.
So it's basically like that scene in Mission Impossible.
Yeah, it's a silly idea. It's foolish, but
it is. And the doors are meant to lock, so if somebody tries to, I don't know, weld through them, they're pretty big doors that they have, and they're made out of really thick steel and other materials that I don't even know about. But they're not going to get through it that easily. It would take some time, and not only that, there is the Area 52, like you mentioned. They have their drone program there that they can easily oversee an entire area really easily, especially as small as Area 51. I mean, you got to think these drones are used over in the Middle East.
Yeah.
So they have all that technology available, plus other technology that they have at Area 52. Then on top of that, down in Nevada, about maybe, I would say about 120-ish miles away from Area 51, they have Nellis Air Force Base, which is, and they do fighter jets there, so F-15s and F-16s, and they travel, I believe, Mach 3. I could be entirely wrong on that.
They're fast,
but they can
they can be there very
get
quickly.
over to the place real quickly, and they'll have missiles and everything on there.
I feel like Grand Theft Auto.
It would be like 5-star Grand Theft Auto.
But Chris,
pretty much, yeah.
I have a question for you, but first, is there anything else you want to tell me about Area 51 before I ask you the question?
Not that I know of. Go ahead.
How do you know all this stuff if you've never been to Area 51?
What do you mean know all this stuff?
You're like, there's a key code, there's a number pad, there's a biometric. The doors are very thick.
The standard Department of Defense security measures when it comes to certain things. It's a standard across. I mean, even outside of the Department of Defense, they, in companies and everything, they have similar technologies in place. So, I mean, anybody who works in a secure facility, whether it be government or not government, they're going to be along the same lines of dealing with the same technologies.
I've got a question for Chris. Have you ever seen anything strange? And this isn't Area 51 or Area 52 or anywhere you've worked. Just in your entire life, have you ever seen anything strange in the sky that you didn't figure out what it was? Or you couldn't figure out what it was?
Memorial Day, there's a called the Canoe Regatta in upstate New York. It's a small little carnival type canoe race. We were waiting for the fireworks, and there was just a stream of like blinking lights, which was quite strange because it was a bunch of blinking lights in a row in a perfect line going across. I have no idea what that is to this day. That was this year.
Wow.
That's about it.
Were they moving very fast?
No, they weren't. I mean, they could have been far away, so they could have been moving a lot faster than what I perceived it as, but it didn't appear to be as bright as the lights were.
Interesting. Pappy, you ever seen anything weird?
No, and we have this agreement that we will only say we do if it's a legitimate thing. Like, if I legitimately saw something, I'm like, I know that was not an airplane, I know that wasn't a planet, I know it wasn't something I've seen before, I will say it, but no, I have not.
Well, as a friendly agreement between two friends, we've said, Chris, that we can't joke about having seen one. Like, we've either definitely seen one, or we've not seen one. But we can't, like, I can't tell Pappy, Pappy, I saw a UFO yesterday.
No.
Because
like that would just make it so much harder to believe when we actually do.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair enough thing to ask for.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I can fathom that the trail was like a banner or something with lights on it, but I've never seen a banner with lights.
Yeah, it's and plus, if it was a banner, the idea is for you to see the banner. So
why would it be going up at nighttime?
Yeah, in the middle of the night. Yeah, it's.
That's why I have no idea.
Yeah, I can't say that I've ever seen. I've wanted to think that it is, but then it's always like a plane or a satellite, or a shooting star. But no, I've never seen anything that I couldn't explain.
It's true.
It's true. But my grandma said that she saw one. she was very young, but I believe it was the same year of the supposed Roswell crash.
Where was she at the time?
She was in Africa, in Kenya.
Yeah, because I was gonna say that it wasn't just Roswell that there's been sightings. Like you said, Russia too.
Oh yeah, Russia very heavily. Chris, do you know anything about what Russia knows, or have you heard anything strange about Russia with regards to USOs, UFOs, UAPs?
What's UAP?
Negative.
No.
UAV.
UAP.
Unmanned aerial vehicle.
Oh, is it UAV? Oh, V. Okay.
Unmanned aerial vehicle. But no, not with Russia. I haven't heard of. I mean, as you generally don't hear much about the Russians.
It doesn't surprise me really, but no, I've read like they've had as many unexplained things, you know, and this goes to like fighter pilots and all that kind of stuff. So I think almost every country in the world has probably got some kind of recording or log of like something that they couldn't figure out. So
Chris, you said you don't believe everything about Bob Lazar, or you question his credentials.
I do question his credentials, and that comes into play of questioning a lot of things that he does say. I don't know if he was in the positions that he really said that he was in. That's up for question. I mean, you don't just there are a lot of things that you can get away with in government positions. If you don't even have the credentials at all to be looking at this kind of stuff, and by credentials I mean like the technical knowledge, the degrees and everything, to be able to even understand how to analyze something, as he has said in the past, it's a lot for anybody. Yeah, there are some really intelligent people that don't have degrees and everything, and that can do amazing stuff. But for him to hold a government position where he was doing that kind of stuff, that's kind of odd.
You've heard that before, though, so...
I have, yeah. It's many people, you know, have discredited him and just say, like, you know, where's his record of going to MIT, as I was telling you earlier? Where's his record of working at Los Alamos? Where's his record of just anything? Like, even witnesses who went to school with him. Like, I'm sure right now I could find someone who I went to high school with, who I haven't seen in maybe 15, 20 years. And just say, you know, can you come on this YouTube channel and say that you went to school with me and I went to this school, and you have pictures of me going to that school, or something like that. But yeah, it just seems strange. Like he can't back up everything he says. There are some things I think where he has clear knowledge of, and he has bits and bobs of proof, and I think he is an intelligent guy, but it's hard to trust people these days.
It is.
Yeah.
I also can caveat on top of that, like being able to go back and look at records and everything. For example, like with my tax records, granted I'm probably an outlier, I have all my tax records from when
Same.
I started working.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
Because I want to show
so I
all
guess
the
I'm
money
not
that I
big of
should
an
be
outlier as
entitled
I
to
thought.
that the government's taking.
No, it's
But
No, yeah, I do the
you
same.
get a paper
Yeah.
trail with that.
That's right. Yeah.
So you should be able to get something. There should be some shred of
Yeah,
evidence
doesn't like his
somewhere
social
that
security
can
number,
prove
like
that.
they can't like revoke that because they'd have to like.
I mean, even if they did all that, he should himself still have something, like what Chris is saying, a paper trail of sorts to show the
Cities that he was living in, where his return was filed.
anything. It can be a parking ticket. It can be, you know, just.
Who keeps a parking ticket?
Huh?
Who keeps a parking ticket?
No, I'm just saying, like, or like an unpaid parking ticket, or just something to say, like, this is your unpaid parking ticket from blah blah blah.
Oh, you mean
Just
someone would say it, not him.
Something written on paper, or, you know, like what Chris said, a paper trail of sorts that he himself should have, unless he's been robbed several times, which I'm not sure if he has or not. It wouldn't surprise me, but yeah, he should have something. And if he's been robbed multiple times, he should have figured out the first time to hide his shit somewhere.
Yeah.
If he does have like more proof,
stuff.
evidence and stuff. Well, Chris hasn't seen the documentary, so I don't want to spoil one part of it. for him. So maybe we'll save that for a later episode.
When he has
The aliens are talking. Yeah, I'll save that question for a later episode for sure. Well, I think we covered all our talking points, Pepe. Let me just have a look. We discussed Area 51 and storming it consequences, Area 51 background and hoaxes. Well, we got the background on it. We didn't really talk about the hoaxes.
Oh, well, all I meant by the hoaxes was that there's a theory that as soon as Area 51 was discovered, everything was moved to Area 52, then 53, and then elsewhere. Or that Area 51 is not the only. It might be one of the places where they have the aliens, but it's not the sole place where they have aliens or aliens testing supplies.
Mm-hmm.
As far as Area 51 was discovered, them moving it elsewhere, I wouldn't say they moved everything to Area 52. Being at that base, they may have expanded some stuff, so then they got more location to be able to do certain things. But as far as moving, the amount of lore behind Area 51, it just doesn't add up to moving it to Area 52. One, you're closer to a main road, a highway that a lot of people go through, so you're going to be. It wouldn't make any sense in the eyes of some general that makes that kind of decision, just because of exposure would be increased. But I don't know anything about Area 53.
I've got one final thing. It's not really to do with aliens or... Well, I mean, maybe. Maybe not. So, as I'm sure Chris was aware, we had earthquakes last week in Southern California.
Yep, and we also had an earthquake up here in Seattle.
Oh, you did?
Yes, 4.6.
4.6, okay, that's, that's not a little tremor. So that's, I think the West Coast is getting bombarded. But, so it was my first proper earthquake since I've been living in the States. That was the first time, my actual body was just doing this for about 30 seconds and there was nothing I could do.
Yeah.
But so when all the news came out, it was around Ridgecrest and everything like that, I started to just dig a bit. And don't ask me why I started doing it, but just something just made me want to find out more about this area. And I found out there's a naval base there. And one of my theories, you can call it a conspiracy theory or you can just call it a theory, is I think they were conducting some kind of weird tests and that's why they had 3 earthquakes in 3 days. And they just had one yesterday.
Yeah, I heard that.
Again.
Well, the thing was and also it was such a strong earthquake you could see the hole from space.
Yeah, it kind of left a crack in the California landscape. So I think weapons tests, and when I say weapons tests, I don't mean bombs, I mean some weird underground
Stranger
testing.
Things.
I mean, you can say Stranger Things, or maybe there's just some stuff there are underground bases, but maybe they were doing something there, and some big stuff set it off. What do you think, Pappy?
I mean, there's a possibility, but I also I've heard from people from the state that they're so overdue for a big earthquake, and it's good that these little ones are happening because it's letting some of the energy for that go. There's always the possibility, that there's something nefarious or something secretive going on underneath. But the one thing that felt weird to me was the fact that it was on the 4th of July. I mean, I know obviously the fucking planet doesn't realize it's the 4th of July. Yeah. But I mean, just the fact that they would know that people would not be at work. They'd more likely be at home and safe. Less people downtown. One could see how you could come to that conclusion.
I actually didn't even think about that, but that's a fair point.
Yeah, and I feel people feel safer if they're at home. They're not they're at work.
For sure, yeah. If you're in a high-story office building, for example, in downtown Los Angeles, and that happened on a Monday morning or Monday afternoon, I think that would cause a lot of issues. But like you said, most people were at home, so it was probably the safest time to conduct any tests.
And I feel since we live in such a state of fear as a society, scared of each other, scared of the government, scared of our own shadow. People are in perpetual fear. It's just people would feel safer when they're at home, because especially if it's like people who are like used to earthquakes and they feel it when they're at home. They're like, oh, it's an earthquake. Whereas if you're at work, like, I gotta text my son, I gotta text my brother, I gotta text my wife, gotta text, gotta let everyone know I'm okay. Like, when it's different when you're at home, you're just like, oh, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I was in the bathroom shaving, half my face was shaved, and I ran out front because I didn't know what the hell I was supposed to do. But like,
Chris, what do you think?
I'm just about to send Anthony an article. There's also stuff going on in Yellowstone.
Oh, Chris told me about this. You heard about this?
No.
Okay, Chris was telling me about this.
There is a massive amount of earthquakes that are happening over in Yellowstone, so I don't think it is more along the lines of a bomb test or weapon test or anything. I think that it's just the tectonic plates shifting because it's happening in multiple locations. Yes, but it's happening more frequently, like 100 earthquakes in a month.
Jesus, yeah, no, that's a lot. There's a lot of activity on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And I don't, as sad as it is, I don't really pay much attention to earthquakes outside of the U.S. or around me.
Well, because they don't scare you that much, or what?
Something. Just because it probably doesn't get the media coverage as it would is if it was affecting the U.S. And also it's just sometimes it's not even. Yeah, you can detect things from across the planet with I can't even remember the name of the tools that they use to. Anybody know the tools that they use to detect?
Some sort of like seismic device. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, something along that line.
There's a word for it.
Well, I know that is the scale called the Richter scale.
Yeah, but that's just to measure like.
But I don't know what the device. I don't know what the device is called.
Something. Yeah. Seismic something sounds right to me.
Well, seismic, because it's a shift.
It's kind of like a graph, right? And it's
like if nothing were happening, you'd be at zero.
Yeah, but then if there's any activity, it starts to
It's like
there was that movie Tremors.
Just kind of the way I talk.
You remember that movie Tremors about the giant underground worms, and they had like
barely.
It was a B movie, but it was with Kevin Bacon.
I think we watched it.
A great movie.
Wait, Chris, real quick, before we wrap this up. Maybe this is the way we should end every video. What's the last film you saw? We should all do this.
Last film?
Yeah. Or should we say... Wait, Chris, wait. Should we let Chris go last since he's the guest? He gives his opinion on it, and he says the final thing, and we shout afterwards?
Sure.
All right, what's the last film you saw?
The Rules of Engagement.
And tell us your opinion on it.
Great movie. Samuel L. Jackson and Tommy Lee Jones. Courtroom drama. Good stuff, yeah. From I think it's like 20 years old now, but it's a great movie, yeah. Magical.
I saw Midsummer. It's the
That's not true.
What?
The last movie.
Oh no! I'm gonna say like last real movie I saw.
Is the dark.
Last new movie I saw. Last new movie I saw.
Last new movie. Okay, so then I have to go again.
I'll go again. Sorry, Chris. We don't. You go as long as you want when you talk, though.
What was the last movie I saw?
Last new movie.
Yeah. Yesterday.
How was it?
It was cute. Yeah, it was nice. It was funny. And it was it was a good British movie, yeah.
And
if you like the Beatles, definitely highly recommend it, yeah.
What was the ironic thing you told me about the audience?
The what?
What was the ironic thing that you told me about the audience?
I don't remember. What did I say?
You just said I couldn't believe the audience.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the audience was 99% Caucasian. Oh, and like maybe 60 plus as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really? Oh, it was the Beatles. So
yeah.
I saw Midsummer. I'd say it's in the top 3 fucked up films I've ever seen. Very good acting, very good writing. Just everything about it was very good, and that's why it was so disturbing. It was just good on so many levels in a horror sense. So
did you enjoy it? Is it actually a good movie?
Oh, it's a phenomenal movie.
Okay.
It is like you're sucked in.
Chris?
Not for you.
Last movie I saw was probably John Wick Chapter 3.
Oh.
Too many cuts. All right, tell us about it, Chris. Tell us about it. And then when you got to also end the podcast when you're ready.
It was a great film. Chapter 2 was better, in my opinion, still. They did a good job with it. I mean, it's John Wick.
Oh, yeah. That's Keanu, if you're listening, that's a good way to sum up your movies, man. It's John Wick. That's it.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. Oh, well, did you tell Chris about how I kept you, or tried to keep you awake for 2 hours?
Maybe you should tell him.
Yeah, so I mistakenly went with Pappy to the cinema at, was it 10 p.m.?
Yeah, and we're going at 10:30 tonight.
Oh my god, such a bad idea. So yeah, we went to see John Wick in Dolby, by the way, which is the loudest theater. Like, yeah, AMC Dolby, like your seats rumble.
Like an earthquake.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, there's no way Pappy's gonna fall asleep in this. And yeah, he just like, I'm awake. I'm like, yeah, Pappy, you're awake. And then I just kept like nudging him, and then he was like, I'm awake. And then there was one scene, I'm sure you recall, like in the last 15 or 20 minutes of the movie, where he gets the shotgun from and he's like loading it, and then the first shotgun sound, like Pappy's like this, and then the shotgun goes and Pappy's like oh my god, I wish I got that on camera, man. It was so good. You just couldn't make that shit. I knew that was gonna wake you up. I knew it when I saw him loading. I was like, please fire it loud. Oh man.
What was my comment about the film?
Oh my god, yeah, this is the best part, Chris. So we got out of the theater, and Paps was like, I liked John Wick 2 better, like you said, but his reasoning was, there were too many cuts in John Wick 3, and I was thinking like, there weren't that many cuts. It was pretty much like 1 and 2. But then it hit me that because he kept watching the movie like this, it looked like different cuts.
So the reason why I like Chapter 2 better than Chapter 3 is because in Chapter 3, the enemies were more of a stormtrooper mentality where they could not hit their targets.
Yes, yeah. I also was thinking about that actually. Why isn't this guy getting hit? I'd say that's my only complaint. Yeah, I'd have to agree with Chris.
In Chapter 2, he did get hit a couple times, actually.
Yes, you're right, yeah.
So...
yeah, they kind of took out a bit more... They took a bit of realism out of Chapter 3.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And sacrificed realism for entertainment, which it was bloody entertaining, especially with the dogs.
Yes, it was.
With Halle Berry and the dogs was a fucking good scene.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's coming back to me now.
I was awake for all her scenes.
But Halle Berry was in the movie? All right, Chris, well, thank you for coming on U3.
Yes.
And
thanks for having me again.
Oh, no, it's we'll make it as regular.
Yeah, he's going to be a recurring
as
guest.
Possible. 100% recurring, yeah. We love talking to you. In fact, when you talk and it's like about Area 51 and all that stuff, I get fucking goosebumps, man. Like the hairs stand up. It
sounds like I am going to go to Nevada on September 20th. I really am going to show up. I don't give a fuck how concrete those doors are. They're going to go fucking down.
That place is going to be on tight restrictions.
Oh, I'm sure.
And if there is anything there,
yeah.
they've moved it away the day of the event. That the day that the event was created.
It'd be so funny if these like 500,000 people show up and there's just like nothing there anymore. It's just like a fence and like desolate desert. There's no
not even. They build a complex there, so it's like apartments.
Or like a theme park or something.
Yeah.
Six Flags.
I doubt they moved it. I mean, there's no way they're getting in. There's too much defenses.
But what if 200,000 people show up? Christ.
Yeah, but I mean...
As soon as one person gets shot, the rest of them be like, yep, I'm not going in there.
That's true.
And then like, Alex shows back, I'm going to go in there.
Let's be real, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot of memes saying that basically this guy goes into the future and then he asks about the raid to Area 51 and they respond with, oh, you mean the Area 51 massacre?
That's brilliant. It's so true, though. Yeah. I totally see that, man. Yeah, you can make a movie out of that easily. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
100%.
Easy.
That's too good. Well, until next time.
Until next time, Chris.
Thank you for joining us,
a pleasure.
everybody. See you soon.